Hello everyone, back with another video just to cover some of the weekend's racing, what just happened. I was going to wait till Thursday so I could talk about some of the declarations for the racing coming up this weekend, but I just thought the video might drag on too much, so I'll try and just skim through my thoughts on some of the horses I backed over the weekend and what I thought on some of the races in this video now. So the best place to start in chronological order would be Stagestar at Newbury. It was very impressive. Like I said in the last video, I just done a little £5 treble on Mr. Coffee, John Bon and Kilcardine because I thought Nicky Henderson might be aiming for a little treble, sending 3 horses down here that he spoke quite highly of, but this Stagestar ran away with the race. It was very easy, and listen, it looks like a classy animal. I don't think he'd be on my radar for the Cheltenham Festival, maybe because I just don't really fancy backing many Nicholas horses at the Cheltenham Festival, as good as a trainer as he is, but you can't knock that Stagestar, and just keep it at that. He was head and shoulders the best horse in that race. The race after that, Nassalam won, but it was a bit of a messy race, wasn't it? I thought Pictor, he was going to win. I can't remember how far it was he came down, but he looked like he was having fun out in front. He was jumping well until he fell, and I just thought my gut feeling was that Pictor, he was going to win that race. But once he fell, I think a lot of people would have thought, is it Miller's Bank was left to win the race before he fell? But I don't know, I just think this Nassalam, he stayed quite strongly when he beat Solo the race before at Ascot, was it? And I wouldn't have been so sure who was the one out of Miller's Bank and Nassalam. But anyway, it was a messy race, and I don't think we can really give Nassalam too much credit for it, but I suppose he's the one that jumped and made it round, and fair play to him, but he wouldn't be on my mind again for any race at the Cheltenham Festival. Then we had John Bon, a big talking horse, obviously coming with that price tag. I'm not sure what he beat, and it was a bit of a farcical race, but listen, you couldn't help but be impressed by him. Just the way he jumped, the way he hurdled, the way he just pulled himself to the front, just was happy to just bowl along in front, and he just looked like he used class. He just looked like he had a high cruising speed, a bit similar to Duvan. And I was really impressed by him. 3-1 was absolutely ridiculous for the Supreme, in my opinion. I think we can say with confidence, even though we haven't seen them jump a hurdle, that Sig Erhard and Kilcruth would have more than likely done the exact same thing, and plenty more, but would have done the exact same thing. But listen, you can only beat what's put in front here, and I was impressed with John Bon, and 3-1 just wouldn't be my cup of tea for the Supreme. But listen, I do think he's a player, and I was really impressed by him. The race after this we had Not Available, causing a kind of a big upset at 14-1. I couldn't have him anyway. It wasn't a race I had a strong opinion on. I was kind of between Solo and Mr. Coffee, and there was 3 of them in contention, 2 out, and this Not Available saw the trip out much stronger than the other 2. He jumped well, and he was quite a comfortable winner in the end, even though Solo did look like he was closing at one point, if I recall, but no, Not Available. Looks like could be a nice little horse to follow through the season, but again, he wouldn't be on my mind for the Cheltenham Festival. It's only really John Bon so far out of these 4 races who I'd be considering, but like I say, at 3-1, I wouldn't be touching John Bon. Surely he could drift a little bit if some of the Irish horses come out and look really strong. Saying that, the bookies probably won't push him out, we know what they're like, but now we move on to Fanny and Destroy, which the definition of a group horse and a handicap, really, wasn't he? Absolutely bolted up. I didn't really have a strong opinion on this race. I thought Fanny and Destroy looked like, on paper, he looked like a good thing, didn't he? I talked about it in the last video, but I just didn't end up having a bet, just purely because the fact I had a little feeling, is it too good to be true? I know you shouldn't bet like this and you should just use your head, but this Fanny and Destroy, he hasn't won a race in a long time, I don't think, and I just thought there could be a couple more in there that maybe might be able to compete with him, but listen, like I say, with the definition of a group horse and a handicap, he absolutely bolted up, and listen, if you jumped on at the prices, I think he was, I don't want to start making prices up, but he wasn't too short. I think he was around 3-1, and that it looked good value when he crossed the line virtually on the bridle, so well done if anyone jumps on Fanny and Destroy. But again, he wouldn't be a horse on my mind for the Cheltenham Festival. Thomas Derby, I wasn't really impressed in this race either. Listen, it was a funny race. I just don't think it's going to be a race that works out one to follow, especially again for the Cheltenham Festival. Paisley Park, like I touched on in the last video, I had a kind of feeling this horse was finished, and I think that kind of put the nail in the coffin. Mrs. Milner was disappointing on the blind side, ran a respectable race, but I just don't think this is going to be top form when we're talking about a Stayers hurdle, even though I think the Stayers hurdle division, as we all know, is kind of, it looks quite open at this stage, but even though Thomas Darby was quite an impressive winner, he wouldn't be for me either for the Cheltenham Festival. And that was the first day at Newbury. Like I said, time to just skim through these. Let me know what your thoughts were in the comments. Obviously, you've been getting involved, and I love hearing all your opinions, whether I agree with them or not. So yeah, moving on to the Saturday, and another race I said I could not call it, this LA Estebel race with Nina the Terrier and a horse with no name, because they were all closely matched last time. And Nina the Terrier kind of won quite convincingly last time, I thought. But no, this LA Estebel had great bumper form, as we all know, and you always had that feeling, even though on paper it didn't look like she could reverse the form, that she would have the class to do so in a more strongly run race. And listen, she bolted up. She drifted to 9-4 before the off, and I was thinking, oh, to jump on, because 9-4 kind of looked a bit of value, but no, I was on kind of bet right before the race, and like I say, I would have been lying if I said I had a strong opinion on this race. I wouldn't have been surprised if any of the top 3 in the markets won the race. But listen, this LA Estebel absolutely destroyed them. Nina the Terrier came down, but no, I think this LA Estebel was going to win anyway. She looked like she was travelling all over them. But we'll never know what would have happened. Ahoy Senor was impressive in the John Franklin Novice chase. Listen, I think I might not be giving this horse credit here with what I'm about to say, because I'm going to say the race completely fell apart in behind him. But I think it's unfair, because if it would have been the other way around and Mr. Incredible would have won by the same distance, because I have a bit of bias towards the Irish because they're so dominant. I think I'd have been saying, oh, Mr. Incredible could be the next star for Henry, but I'm going to kind of slate Ahoy Senor. Not slate him, listen, he was proper impressive, he's got an engine, but I just do think the race almost fell apart a little bit. Mr. Incredible's jumping was absolutely disgraceful, and Ahoy Senor wasn't foot perfect over his fences either, but listen, he's got some engine. I put him up for the National Hunt Chase, a small bet, because I'm not sure he's going to go that way, at 20-1 last week. I think he's 6-1 now, so got the value if you're one of them people that can celebrate that too much. But listen, I think they're aiming higher with this horse. I don't think he's going to go the National Hunt Chase, but anyway, I'm happy to have 0.5 points on at 20-1 now, just in case, because if he turns up there on the day, he's not going to be anywhere near 20-1, is he? I just think, even though I feel like they're setting the targets quite high with this horse, and rightly so, it's not often that yard can maybe have a superstar, so aim as high as you can, of course you would. With no disrespect to the yard, obviously it's just not a Willie Mullins or a Gordon Elliott, as we all know. But yeah, I just think, I'm not sure if Ahoy Senor will go to Kempton, if it'll go to Kempton for the Concertista. I know it's beat Brave Man's Game over hurdles, but listen, I've mentioned I'm on Brave Man's Game at nice prices for the Concertista, and I'd still be all over him against Ahoy Senor. I think he's a better jumper, I think he's a faster horse, and I just think Ahoy Senor's jumping still could do with a little bit of improvement, and we know Kempton takes some jumping, so especially for a novice you need to jump well around there, of course you do. I just think Ahoy Senor could be more suited to a Reynoldstown or something like this at Ascot in January, but listen, if they want to take the chance in the Grade 1, who could put them off? They've beat Brave Man's Game already over hurdles, so listen, we'll see what happens, but it's still 4 or 5 months till Cheltenham, whatever. If Ahoy Senor did go to the Concertista and was beaten, goes to the Reynoldstown and was beaten, they might just sense opportunity near at the time and think, you know what, we'll go for this National Hunt Chase, the horse stays all day. Listen, you need to jump to win a National Hunt Chase, and I know I've just been slating Ahoy Senor's jumping, but his jumping wasn't too bad, it just was a bit, I wouldn't say it was perfect like a Brave Man's Game, but listen, he's only a novice, he's entitled to improve. But I still don't think it's completely off the cards that Ahoy Senor could end up in the National Hunt Chase, but of course it looks like he'd have to lose a couple of times leading up to the festival, and obviously you'd make it really short in the market at the moment to bet which race he's going to go for. I'm guessing he'd be quite a short price to go for the Festival Novice Chase, the RSA. So it's only a 0.5 points bet, but listen, I was impressed by him anyway. He's got a huge engine on him, I've got no doubt. Like I've said, I think he could be a national horse in the future. He's an exciting horse. I thought Mr. Incredible, I didn't like his jumping whatsoever. You can allow any horse a bad day, but listen, he wouldn't be on my mind for the Cheltenham Festival, Mr. Incredible, and I still don't think Ahoy Senor would. Of course, he's got the ability to win the RSA. He looks a top horse, he's a Grade 1 winner over hurdles, he's now a Grade 3 winner, or a Grade 2 winner, or a Grade 3 winner over fences. I can't remember what that race was. But Ahoy Senor, no, I think he's quite short in the RSA market, but listen, I'm not going to throw too many stones at him. I do like the horse. So next we had the Cap Course bolsters up in a race he's already won 2 years ago for Paul Nicholls. Just touch on this quickly. I didn't have a strong opinion in this race. I did look at Cap Course, but I thought, no, maybe he's getting a bit old. And yeah, I didn't have a strong opinion. I just kind of watched this race, and he was an impressive winner. So that was Cap Course. Sword and Glory bombed out. This was the only race I missed. This race, unfortunately, over the tremendous these days racing. And I haven't even watched it back, so I can't really give much opinion on this, but I'm just going to bring it up anyway because I thought Sword and Glory would win this race. I didn't back him or anything like this. He was too short, but for whatever reason, he ran an absolute stinker. So maybe you can cross him off out your mind if you had him in your mind for any race at Cheltenham, but I don't think anybody really considered him a champion hurdle horse anyway. Definitely not against the Irish anyway. We'll move on to Honeysuckle later. Like I say, I'm just skimming through these. The Ladbrokes Trophy, I mentioned that I had a little bet on Fiddler on the Roof on the last video, but it's funny, the more you can look at a race, pre-race, this remastered did start growing on me, and I had that was my biggest bet of the weekend on remasters. And when I say biggest bet, not a huge bet, like I say, I only bet pennies at this time of the year anyway, but I thought remastered was going to win. I know there's still a couple of fences to be jumped, but no, I had a really good feeling about that remastered, so this was my biggest blow of the weekend. I didn't back many winners over the weekend, like I said, I didn't bet any large amounts, but I was a bit gutted to see remastered come down, and he looks ready-made for the ultimate or something like this at Cheltenham. He would be on my mind, and Fiddler on the Roof would be on my mind for a Grade 1 stay and chase, especially against these English horses like Royal Pagayan and Next Destination. I'd be backing Fiddler on the Roof against these type of horses. I think with the Tizzards in better form, this horse could finally deliver on the promise he showed after his Tolworth win as a novice hurdler. Now I'm a big fan of this Fiddler on the Roof, I'll be honest, and I'm interested to follow him moving forward. I think he's a proper weapon. And of course, you've got to mention the winner, Clardy Glen. Like, listen, second year on the run that those connections have won the Ladbrokes Trophy. The names actually escaped me. I know he's died recently, so it was very touching, and it was nice to see them colours in the limelight once again. But yeah, Clardy Glen, no, I didn't even give him a chance before the race. Like I say, I thought Fiddler obviously had a good chance, but then at the morning of the race, I was just all over this remastered. So absolutely gutted when he comes down. I thought he was absolutely tanking, and he jumped unbelievable until that point. But that's racing. 14 to 1, I think I got him at as well. I think he went off 10 to 1 though, to be honest. He was a tasty price. So moving on to this, I don't know how to pronounce it, Reducto, the Paul Nicholls 4-year-old that bolted up in the handicap. Listen, Nicholls done it with Hitman last year as a 4-year-old, and I think a bit before my time of watching horse racing, but Corso Star started jumping chases very early. I'm not saying he's going to be as good as that horse, but I just like the way Nicholls gets these horses over the fences early. He's not scared, and this horse was so impressive. I was really taken by him, and I'd be keeping a close eye on him moving forward. This Reducto, or whatever you call him, thought he was really impressive, as I'm sure we all did. Moving on to Newcastle, we have Mr. Glass for Paul Nicholls, who looked an absolute Albert Bartlett type. He looks very slow. He travels into the race well, but he just kind of stuck his head down and grounded it out in the frost at Newcastle. Could be an Albert Bartlett type. Like I say, until Nicholls starts banging a few winners in at the Cheltenham Festival, I just can't get behind him. I can't remember his last winner at the Cheltenham Festival, to be honest. It might have been a handicap or top of the game, something like this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but no, I just think he targets Aintree more, doesn't he? But this Mr. Glass definitely looks like an Albert Bartlett type, and I wouldn't be surprised if he ran a good race there, but it could be a hot Albert Bartlett this year, we'll see. But he would kind of be on my mind for the race, but I don't think I'd ever back him. And we mentioned about Caldwell Construction in the last race. I thought they'd get a few more winners than he did. But this Chemical Energy, I think I mentioned this in the last race video, I expected him to be quite short. I backed him at 5 to 1, I couldn't believe it. He went off 13 to 8 and he won by over a length. There was a rule 4, so it was kind of like 4 to 1. I think it was a 20p rule 4, but no, that Chemical Energy kind of saved my couple of days gambling. I didn't have like I say, tons of money on him, but it had a nice single. And 5 to 1 with the 20p rule 4 was still a nice return. And yeah, Chemical Energy boosting that my mate Mossie form. I thought 5 to 1 was an absolute steal. I think he opened 3s and then drifted. Not sure why, but listen, that was a gift, and I was really grateful for that over the weekend because I didn't get much else. So we move on to the Sunday, the best day of the 3 days in my opinion, at Ferny House. A couple of horses came out because of the ground, which was unfortunate. But we'll start off with just the races that I watched. Like I say, I'm living in Colombia, so I have to get up early because I'm hours behind. I missed the first race, unfortunately, so I can't. That Hurricane George race, or no, Allaho or something won. I've got no opinion on that race, sorry, I missed it. So I'll have to start with Phil Dore. I suppose this will divide opinions, Phil Dore, because he didn't win by much and he was a very short price, but I loved it. I thought he showed a great attitude. It was hands and heels. He travelled into the race okay, jumped well when he needed to. Davey wasn't too hard on him, he stuck his head down. I thought won quite cosily. Like, we know what the bookies like, they cut him. I don't think he deserved to be cut, even though he's just won a grade 2. And I think that could turn out to be good form, but he's plenty short enough now, and I'm just happy I got a couple of bets on him myself and a couple of multiples, not many, and a little single, and I put them up on these videos, 1 point at 8 to 1. I've missed the race here, sorry, I missed the fight in 5th, so I'll bounce back now, sorry. But Phil Dore, I was impressed anyway, and we'll see where he goes now. I think the Dublin Racing Festival was mentioned, and yeah, I like this horse, I really do. Let me know what you think, I know a lot of people weren't impressed. So going on to the fight in 5th, Epitant, I mentioned I backed a 9 to 4 anti-post. It was pretty wordless after the dead heat. Didn't get much of a price on it, and I didn't have a lot of money on it anyway. Just a nice little bet on an anti-post, but nothing special. Listen, if she's the horse I thought she was, she would have been winning this race easy the way she won it last year. I'm kind of giving up on her now. I think she was the best horse in the race. I think a couple of things went wrong for her. I thought she was going to win by a couple of lengths easily at one point, but no, she stuck her head down and she battled, but I don't really rate this Not So Sleepy. I know he's an admirable horse, but I just wouldn't think Honeysuckle or even a Charger would have anything to worry about defeating these English horses in the 2 mile division. And yeah, I think Epitant for me now, she's the only other horse I've backed in the champion hurdle market at 16 to 1 in case anything happens to Honeysuckle, but I won't be putting any more money on it anyway. It was only a couple of quid. And she's not the horse she once was, I don't think, anymore, and she's definitely not the horse that I think she could be. She could have bounced back through this season. I've kind of given up on Epitant now just to wrap that one up, but it was an exciting race to watch. I hated that camera angle though. I do like it when they have that side shot, like when they have it in the Irish Champion Stakes on the flat and you can see them sprinting. But they had it on that angle for too long, didn't they, in the fight in 5th, and it just ruined the spectacle for me. So anyway, moving back on to the Sunday at Ferny House, I was all over Mighty Potter just because of the hype. I know that's a crazy way to bet, to be honest, but sometimes I think you need to listen to the hype around horses and things like this, and I thought Mighty Potter would follow in the footsteps of Envoy Allen and Ballyadam and win the Royal Bond. He didn't. I'm a big fan of Brian Cooper, but I thought this was an absolutely shocking ride. I've never ridden a horse, so listen, it's easy for me to say, like, he's a professional jockey. I don't want to be one of them armchair jockeys that just throws stones at him. But he had the horse all around the track. He had it like 4 or 5 wide. He was running into trouble. It finished off really strong. I don't think anyone's got any doubt that this was the best horse in the Royal Bonds. Of course it was. I've seen a lot of people say that they'll be interested in this horse when it gets stepped up in strip. I think a strongly run 2 miles would be absolutely perfect for this horse. I just think he looks a supreme horse. He looks an Arkle horse for next season. Maybe even a Marsh horse if he wants to go up and strip. But I'd say like an Arkle horse, a supreme horse. That being said, I don't fancy him in a Supreme. I think, listen, if it was a heavy ground Supreme or a soft ground Supreme, he could come off a strong pace, of course he would. I wouldn't be laying him or I wouldn't be dead against him, but he wouldn't be my selection for the race. I think I'd be more impressed with John Bon, and I was more impressed with John Bon, albeit it was a weaker race, not a grade 1. And I'm more excited for Kilcrew to get hard these type of horses. But listen, I do think he was the eye catcher, as everybody could have spotted Mighty Potter. He was the horse to take out of the Royal Bonds, because alone with a better ride. And yeah, like I say, I had a couple of quid on him, not much, just as a saver for the Supreme, because in case he won that race, he would have been 10 to 1, wouldn't he? But he was 25 to 1, I think he's still 25 to 1, and I'm happy to have my couple of quid. I haven't put it up in this videos, I think I mentioned it. But I'm happy that I've got that little saver on Mighty Potter, because I don't think it'll be the biggest shock in the world if he did win a Supreme, but he wouldn't be my selection anyway. But Stagestar is still 7-1 for the Mares Novice Hurdle, which I was very surprised at for a Grade 1 winner against the boys. I don't think she was too fancied in the market, even though she was the favourite of the Willie Mullins 3. And I'm sure Willie Mullins has got better mares than this at home. But no, I just thought 7-1 is quite generous for Stagestar, if that's how you pronounce her, considering she just won a Grade 1. The way the bookies are, I thought she would have been 7-2, 3-1, but maybe it's because she wasn't fancied and it was a bit of a tactical race. I don't know, but I thought that was the bookies being generous for once. So moving on to the Drinmore, I don't think this is a race to follow, correct me if I'm wrong. Beacon Edge stays on strongly to win. I back Grand Paradise. Anti-post, I was quite, not all over him, but I fancied him, but on that drying ground, on that quick ground, I just thought this horse, all his forms on good ground, he probably needs a trip anyway, never mind fast ground over 2.5 miles. And I was disappointed by him. His jumping was terrible, to be honest. Maybe he was under pressure, and I'd say, let's judge this horse when he goes up and strip on soft ground. But listen, that sums up my couple of days gambling, to be honest. Grand Paradise looked beat after halfway, but he was not jumping with any fluency. He got hampered twice. It was just a bit all over the place. Lifetime Ambition wasn't as good this time. To be honest, he jumped that perfectly. I don't know what that noise is there. Must be the washing machine. Sorry about that. Was the washing machine. So yeah, I was talking about Lifetime Ambition. This horse jumped so well. The last time at Darn Royal, I just thought he jumped that well, and he still only won by a couple of lengths. I know he was impressive, but I just thought he jumped that well and he only won by a couple of lengths. He's going to have to jump that well again, and it's a hard ask for a novice to jump so well all the time. I just thought there'd be a horse that could improve past them, and like I say, he was a bit disappointing this time. But no, I think that Drinmore was a bit of a poor race to follow. Fury Road looked like he doesn't want to be in front too early. He probably just needs softer grounds. I just don't think any of them horses are going to win at the Cheltenham Festival. I really don't. But correct me if I'm wrong. Honeysuckle, what can we say? Absolutely flawless once again. She's just fascinating to watch. She just seems to all the horses come off the bridle in behind her, one after one, and she's just still absolutely tanking. She just puts the race to bed in a matter of seconds. Like, I always say Shishkin's the best horse in National Hunt Training, but this Honeysuckle, she's the best horse. She probably is the best horse in National Hunt Training. She's won 13 on the spin, open age Grade 1s against the boys, against the mares, 2 miles, 2.5 miles. She's, like I say, she's more than likely, in most people's opinion, the best horse in training, and she's in the weakest division, probably the weakest division, and she gets £7. Has there ever been a banker for the Cheltenham Festival like Honeysuckle? Probably not. Like, she just needs to turn up, and she's absolutely bomb-proof, as we all know. On these videos, I've put her up in a Trixie with Bob Olinger and Shishkin, so at 7-4, or 2-1, I think I put her up at, so that's a tiny bit of value now. And yeah, listen, Honeysuckle, what else can you say? She's just absolutely amazing, isn't she? It was sad to see latest exhibition. It's horrible seeing things like that in the sport, of course it is. I thought he would have had a good chance in the Stayers Hurdle this season. He's a very classy horse for Paul Nolan, and it was just horrible to see things like that. And then Abracadabras was poor. He just, for whatever reason, he was just never really in the race. Maybe he was too far back. Ronald Pump ran a respectable race, but just none of them were in the same league as this Honeysuckle. They never are they? She's an absolute superstar. And yeah, I think that's all. And I just remembered in the last video, I didn't touch on Hollow Games, one of the selections who's already ran. He's cut into 6-1, 8-1 now. There's a lot of divide. People are saying it's an awful price. Some people aren't saying it's a good price, but some people are saying he's worthy favourite for the race. I liked Hollow Games. 2.5 miles was plenty skinny, short enough for him, I think. He stuck his head down and got the race won quite easily in the end after they were all in a bit of a heap, 2 or 3 hurdles out. I like Hollow Games. Like I say, I backed them myself for the Albert Bartlett at nice prices. I've put them up at 33-1 in these videos. I've backed them for 66-1 for the RSA or the Festival Novice Chase in 2023. I just like the look of this horse. He's always come with a bit of a reputation. And I was impressed with Hollow Games. I just forgot to mention that performance in the last video. But I'm just going to put another bet up here, and only again just 0.5 point bet. And like I say, this time of the year, like I said, I'm just trying to get some of the horses on that value could collapse. And we've seen what happened with John Bon. Okay, he was impressive, but he was caught to a ridiculous price in the Supreme, and that's purely off reputation and his price tag. Of course it is. I was looking through the market and another horse that could have a similar price drop like this, and he's entered on the weekend. Whether he runs or not, I don't know. His Classic Getaway, Cheveley Park, Willie Mullins, huge connections, as big as it gets. He cost over £500,000, or whatever. Cost over 500,000. I think it was pounds. It might have been like a different currency, whatever they deal in. But anyway, this horse cost a lot of money, whether it was pounds or euros or guineas, whatever. I don't know. I'm terrible with currencies, but anyway, Classic Getaway. He's 16 to 1 for the Ballymore and he's 20 to 1 for the Albert Bartlett. If he comes out and wins, even the way Hollow Games won at 1 to 9 in a very not competitive race at Down Royal, and they cut him from 33 to 1 to 16 to 1. Classic Getaway will get cut even if he wins a bang average race. Of course he will. As soon as people see that he can hurdle, and the price tag he came with, Willie Mullins, as soon as this horse wins a race, he's not going to be 16 and 20 to 1. I'm going to do 0.5 points on each of those races for Classic Getaway. 0.5 points for the Ballymore, 16 to 1, which is across the board. And basically, I think the only bookie is not offering 16 to 1 for the Ballymore is Unibet, but correct me if I'm wrong, but Skybet, William Hill, Paddy Power, Betfair, all of them have got this horse up at 16 to 1. And then I'm also going to do 0.5 points for the Albert Bartlett, 20 to 1. That's on Willie Hill and Skybet, or William Hill and Skybet, sorry. And the rest of the bookies have got them priced up at 16s, 18s, but 20s on two bookies there, William Hill and Skybet. I've already put Hollow Games up for the Albert Bartlett, but there's no harm in having two anti-post bets. And this Classic Getaway, if he wins a race, like I say, he could be looking at 8 to 1 for the Albert Bartlett or 10 to 1 for the Ballymore after he wins his maiden. Like I say, he's entered on the weekend, so I think now is the time to play this bet, if ever. Like I say, he comes with a big reputation, big price tag, top connections. All he needs to do is go and win, and he will shorten. You look at that Ballymore, and I was tempted to put Gaillard up, but I still don't know if he's going to go for the Supreme. You look at the way Appreciated and Ferny Hollow swapped last year. I know that was because of Ferny Hollow injury, but you just can never know with these Willie Mullins horses. It does look like it would have the potential to cut up that Ballymore. It sounds silly saying 4 or 5 months away from the race, and there's still going to be French horses that we haven't seen coming into the markets and things like this. Or even bumper horses that are going to improve for the hurdle that we haven't seen yet. But you can kind of cross out a lot of them at the top of the market in the Ballymore, and I was thinking, Gaillard, if he can maintain that bumper form and all the promise that he's shown over hurdles, and when he runs over hurdles, Gaillard could be a short price favourite in the Ballymore, but I think he's only 5 to 1, 6 to 1, and I just thought, I'd rather have 0.5 points on this Classic Getaway because split on the Albert Bartlett and the Ballymore, because he's another horse that is in both of these markets and he could contract very easily. If these markets cut up throughout the season, he's only going to get shorter and shorter, and I just thought, for the sake of 0.5 points, 1 point in total, I'm going to get Classic Getaway on the team, 16 to 1 for the Ballymore and 20s for the Albert Bartlett. And yeah, that's all for this video. Like I say, it was just a quick review, just to give my thoughts on some of the racing. Apologies if I've missed out on any races. I just wrote a few notes down of the races that I watched and the races that I had bets in and the races I was kind of involved in or that had any relevance towards the Cheltenham Festival, but forgive me if I've missed any. I'm going to just get another video up on Thursday or Friday to just focus on next weekend's racing. I don't think it looks as good as this weekend. The early entries are setting me alight at like Aintree or Sandown, but in Ireland there's a couple of top horses that look like they're entered making the chase and hurdle debut, and we've got the John Durkin, who I think Envoy will take all the beating and that if he turns up there. And yeah, I will talk about that more in the next video. So yeah, that was just my thoughts on the weekend racing, and one more anti-post bet, or two more, sorry. But just one horse, Classic Getaway, 0.5 points for the Ballymore, 16 to 1, and 0.5 points for the Albert Bartlett. See you later.